Welcome to Australian Politics. I'm Lachlan, and today we're diving into one of the most significant shifts in our political landscape, the rise of independent candidates. As we look ahead to the 2025 federal election, these independent voices are reshaping how we think about representation and democracy in Australia. For decades, our political system has been dominated by the major parties. But something remarkable is happening. We're witnessing a transformation that could fundamentally change how our democracy works. More and more Australians are looking beyond the traditional two-party system, seeking representatives who truly reflect their values and priorities. In today's episode, we'll explore why this shift is happening, what it means for our democracy, and how it might impact the upcoming federal election. We'll look at the real differences independent candidates are making in Parliament, and why their growing influence matters to every Australian voter. One of the most compelling aspects of independent candidates is their freedom to truly represent their constituents without being tied down by party politics. Unlike MPs from major parties, independents don't have to toe the party line or follow voting directives from party leadership. This means they can actually vote based on what their community wants and what they believe is right. Think about it. When was the last time you saw a major party MP break ranks on an important vote? It's rare because the consequences within their party can be severe. But independent MPs don't face these pressures. They can speak up on issues that matter to their electorate without worrying about contradicting their party's position or facing internal backlash. This independence also translates to greater accessibility and responsiveness to local concerns. While party MPs often have to balance their local duties with party obligations, independent representatives can focus entirely on their community's needs. They can take strong positions on local issues that might be overlooked by the major parties, whether that's fighting for better infrastructure, pushing for improved healthcare services, or addressing specific environmental concerns that affect their electorate. Their ability to negotiate with either side of politics also gives them unique leverage in Parliament. When the government needs support for legislation, independent MPs can advocate for their community's interests and secure real benefits for their constituents, rather than simply following a party position that might not serve their local area's needs. When it comes to the climate crisis, independent candidates are leading the charge for meaningful action, while major parties continue to play political ping-pong. Unlike their party-bound counterparts, independents are free to champion bold, science-based solutions without worrying about appeasing party donors or fossil fuel lobbyists. This commitment to real climate action has attracted significant support from organisations like Climate 200, which backs candidates who prioritise environmental policies based on scientific evidence rather than political expedience. These independent voices are pushing for ambitious emissions reduction targets that actually align with what climate scientists tell us we need, not what's politically convenient. What's particularly refreshing about independents' approach to climate policy is their focus on practical, community-centred solutions. They're advocating for a rapid transition to renewable energy, while ensuring their communities benefit from new jobs and economic opportunities. They understand that addressing climate change isn't just about reducing emissions. It's about building a sustainable future that works for everyone. They're also cutting through the political noise to address specific environmental challenges facing their local areas. Whether it's coastal erosion, bushfire risk, or drought resilience, independent MPs are developing targeted solutions that reflect their community's unique needs. This local focus, combined with their commitment to evidence-based policy, makes them particularly effective champions for meaningful climate action. Rather than getting bogged down in ideological debates, these candidates are focused on delivering real results. They're calling for clear timelines, measurable targets, and transparent reporting on climate progress. This practical approach is exactly what we need to break through the climate policy deadlock that has frustrated Australians for far too long. One of the most troubling aspects of Australian politics in recent years has been the erosion of public trust. From sports rorts to pork barrelling scandals, We've seen far too many examples of politicians putting party interests ahead of public good. This is where independent candidates are making a real difference, bringing a fresh approach to integrity and accountability in our political system. Independent candidates are uniquely positioned to champion transparency because they're not caught up in party machinery or beholden to powerful lobby groups. They can speak openly about issues that matter without having to run their statements through party headquarters or worry about contradicting the party line. This freedom allows them to be genuinely accountable to their constituents rather than party power brokers. We're seeing independent MPs consistently pushing for stronger anti-corruption measures and greater transparency in political donations. They're advocating for real-time disclosure of political contributions and stricter regulations on lobbying activities. These aren't just empty promises. They're backing their words with action, often being the first to voluntarily disclose their own donors and campaign finances. The commitment to integrity goes beyond just financial transparency. Independent candidates are also championing reforms in parliamentary processes, calling for more robust debate, greater scrutiny of legislation, and improved accountability measures. They're working to restore faith in our democratic institutions by demonstrating that politicians can act with genuine integrity and put community interests first. This focus on accountability is resonating with voters who are tired of the usual political games. Australians want representatives who will stand up for what's right, even when it's difficult, and who will be honest about their decisions and motivations. Independent candidates are proving that it's possible to do politics differently, with a genuine commitment to ethical conduct and responsible governance. What makes independent candidates truly stand out is their deep connection to their local communities. These aren't career politicians parachuted in from party headquarters. They're local leaders who've often spent years working within their communities, understanding the unique challenges and aspirations of their neighbours. This grassroots approach has revolutionised Australian politics, particularly evident in the remarkable Teal wave of 2022. We saw community-backed independents winning seats in traditionally safe Liberal electorates, demonstrating the power of local engagement and genuine representation. These candidates succeeded because they listened to their communities and campaigned on issues that truly mattered to local residents. The strength of these grassroots movements lies in their authentic, bottom-up approach. Independent campaigns are typically powered by local volunteers, funded by community donations, and shaped by countless conversations at school gates, community centres, and local markets. This creates a different kind of political representation, one where MPs remain directly accountable to their communities rather than distant party hierarchies. These community connections don't just help win elections, they fundamentally change how politics works. Independent MPs regularly hold town halls and community forums, actively seeking input from constituents on major issues. They're accessible, responsive, and genuinely engaged with local concerns. This approach has created a new model of political representation that's more dynamic and responsive than the traditional party system. The success of these grassroots movements shows that Australians are ready for a different kind of politics, one where representatives are truly connected to their communities, where local voices matter, and where genuine engagement trumps party politics. This shift represents a significant evolution in our political landscape, proving that when communities come together, they can create meaningful change in our democracy. As we look toward the 2025 federal election, there's a palpable sense of possibility in the air. The growing momentum behind independent candidates isn't just a temporary shift. It's a fundamental reimagining of what Australian democracy can be. The upcoming election presents a unique opportunity to build on the success we've already seen and push for even more meaningful change in our political landscape. The potential impact of independent candidates in 2025 could be transformative. We're seeing more community leaders stepping forward, ready to challenge the status quo and offer voters a genuine alternative to the major parties. These candidates bring fresh perspectives, diverse expertise, and a commitment to their communities that's often missing from traditional party politics. What's particularly exciting about 2025 is the broadening of the independent movement. It's no longer confined to wealthy inner-city electorates. We're seeing independent campaigns emerging in regional areas, outer suburbs, and traditionally safe seats across the political spectrum. This expansion suggests a growing recognition that independent representation can work for all types of communities, not just a select few. The implications for Australia's political future are significant. A stronger presence of independents in Parliament could fundamentally alter how decisions are made, forcing major parties to negotiate and compromise rather than rely on party line votes. This could lead to better policy outcomes, more thorough debate, and legislation that truly serves the national interest rather than partisan agendas. Looking beyond 2025, the rise of independents could reshape our entire political system. We might see the emergence of new forms of collaboration between independents, the evolution of more sophisticated support networks for community-backed candidates, and perhaps most importantly, a permanent shift in how Australians think about political representation. The question isn't whether independents will play a role in our political future, it's how big that role will be. As we wrap up today's discussion, it's clear that independent candidates represent more than just an alternative to the major parties. They embody a fundamental shift in Australian politics. Their freedom from party constraints, commitment to climate action, and focus on integrity are reshaping how we think about political representation. The success of the Teal wave in 2022 proved that Australians are ready for change, and the 2025 federal election offers another crucial opportunity to strengthen independent voices in Parliament. These candidates, deeply rooted in their communities and free from party politics, are demonstrating that there's a different way to do politics, one that puts people before party interests. The choice we make at the ballot box in 2025 will have lasting implications for our democracy. By considering independent candidates, we have the power to demand more accountability, stronger action on climate change, and better representation of community interests. The future of Australian politics doesn't have to be limited to the traditional two-party system. It's time to think carefully about who truly represents our values and priorities, and vote accordingly. Remember, your vote is more than just a mark on a ballot paper. It's a statement about the kind of democracy you want to see. The rise of independence has shown us that change is possible when we're willing to look beyond business as usual. The question now is, are we ready to embrace this change and help shape a political system that better serves all Australians?